There you go.
I think you can't enough be said about the Model 94 Winchester. Thank you for giving me a minute to talk about it. The Model 94, or correctly 1894, before the advent of the Model 94, there was no smokeless cartridges. This Model 94 came out in the 3030 first, and that was the first smokeless cartridge in America today. It was also chambered later in 32 Special, 3855. It came in the 24-inch octagon barrel in the early years, and this is the carbine model, which was popular for a cowboy to carry in his scabbard on his horse. But probably more game is taken with this little gun right here, this little Model 94 Winchester, in the 30-30 caliber than any other model in America that's ever been made today. And a lot of guys would come back from the military saying they were shooting a 30-30. They called everything a 30-30 when they got home. Of course, that's not true, but most of them used a Springfield in World War I and early World War II in the 30-06. But still, half of them that come back said, we fought with a 30-30. They called everything a 30-30. But it's a hard-hitting little cartridge, 150 and 170 grain bullet. And it's an ideal deer cartridge, and bear hunters in the mountains up here prefer it over anything because they got to chase dogs through the laurel thickets, and this little short gun right here is ideal when they have to run in close on a bear that the dogs have got bayed, or even when they tree him. But before 1964, excuse me. In 1964, Winchester, the engineers, they had to cut some cost, they had to cut some corners, and after that year, all the internal parts were cast. Pre-64, every piece of this, every piece of the lifter, the mechanism, the bolt, the lever, everything, the action, everything was machined out of solid bar stock steel. And the way to ready identify one, if you walk in a gun shop, some pawn shop, there's one sitting in the rack right there, and you want to just take a quick look at it and see if it's a pre-64. Most of them don't like you to work the lever, so if you just drop it that far, you can see that screw head right there. After 64, it'll be a pin. It'll be a roll pin or a dowel pin. But 64 and before, pre-64, it's a screwdriver slot right there. And that's the way to identify one just without looking into parts inside and seeing if they're machined and all that. This is my all-around favorite gun right here, and for small game and close range. Now it's effective out. It's good 75 or 100 yards. You shouldn't really try unless you really shot it a whole lot and good about distances. I wouldn't never take a shot at anything over 75 yards. That's even though it'll kill at the 400 or 500 yards, but the bullet would be a great arch, or trajectory would be great. But it's an all-around decent little gun, and Winchester discontinued it when they went under. Most everything went under, and it's being revived today in replicas. Birdie and several others make a replica of it. An identical replica is probably just as good as the one themselves, but when you see one of these on a gun rack or on display at a gun show or something, take it down and grab it if you can, because the price is going through the roof, and especially the pre-64. I gave all of my grandsons one, and they have modern bolt-action rifles. They have Rugers, they have Remingtons, they have 270s, 264s, and 257s, 308s. But I said, boys, I want you to get a deer with the old Model 94 with iron sights. And my grandson, my youngest grandson, 8 years old, September the 23rd, when they had that youth day, North Carolina Wildlife set aside a day earlier than any other, no gun season's in at all. Archery season wasn't even in. On September 23rd was a Saturday. A youth under 18 could take any modern weapon with a licensed adult and deer hunt. And my little 8-year-old got 2 with his Model 94 that I gave him. And that made me happy. It made me very, very happy. And like I say, this is the gun I'd advise any young man to start with, because it's simple, it's safe, the hammer has to be cocked, and it's easy to let down. Open iron sights. By all means, start a young man out with one of these and then graduate him up to a more modern rifle. But this is a gun that revolutionized the world with the smokeless powder. And still there was a lot made after that, 1894, that they continue to shoot black powder in, some of the older models. But in the barrel, most of them, the barrel of the rifling's not good in them because they wasn't cleaned and took care of. But when smokeless powder come along, it would forgive you if you set it in the shelf and let it go a year without cleaning it. Before the smokeless powder, if you didn't clean that thing within a few days, rust would start, the sulfur in the black powder would set up corrosion, and that's why many an old gun before then, the barrel shot out and destroyed. It's not accurate whatsoever at all, but when the smokeless powder came along, that changed the whole world of firearms, and the Model 1894 was the first gun to shoot smokeless powder. Thank you so much.